Hi, I'd like to give you a 10-point checklist to make sure that your citations are APA7 compliant. So let's share screen and quickly go to an example list that could give you some key points. First of all, your reference manager may not automatically create an error-free citation for your reference list. You're going to have to double check. And here are 10 things you're going to look for: authors and dates, titles and capitalization, commas and periods, spaces and italics, dashes, DOIs, and URLs. Oh my. So here is an example of a citation that is correctly formatted. And you see all the elements, the author names listed. Of course, they're all capitalized. Notice that the initials of the authors are included, but there's a space in between. And that's very important and often missed. In between, also, the last author and the previous author, there's an ampersand. So not only the comma, but an ampersand. It is required. Following the authors, of course, is the date. In parentheses, there's a period required. Notice that the title of the journal article is not italicized and terms are not capitalized. However, notice, and this is often missed in citations, and that is after the colon, you're going to find a capital. Make sure you remember that one. Of course, the journal itself, the title of that is capitalized and italicized, and the volume number is also italicized. Notice an interesting feature of the page range. It contains something called an N dash, and I'm going to talk about dashes in a moment. And finally, APA7 requires a digital object identifier, which allows anyone to go right to that article by entering that address. All of those are required elements. Just an aside on dashes. There's the dash we're familiar with between compound words. This one we may not be as familiar with. It's a little bit longer. It's called an N dash, and you find an N dash in the page range of an article. And finally, there's an M dash, which is a little longer than that. And that indicates that a little more information about a term or a phrase is coming. So here's some examples of correctly formatted APA7 compliant entries. Notice all those 10 points have been met, so I looked them over. I wanted to show you this one because the DOI here is odd looking, but it is indeed correct. So sometimes you do find an address that you might have to double check just because it does look a little different. Sometimes it's not a DOI, it's a URL, the Universal Resource Locator, that again would take a reader directly to this report from the World Health Organization. This is an important example because sometimes you're citing the chapter of a book and you need to offer and provide the editor of that book. And notice this is a slightly different format. The initial comes before the last name, and the information includes not only a volume here, but also a page range. But here we've got PP period that indicates multiple pages. And there's that N dash again. And also included here is the publisher, but not the location of the publisher, not the city of the company. That's no longer necessary in APA7. And finally, I wanted to show you what a doctoral dissertation citation would look like. It has some unique features. The italicization of the title of the dissertation, publication number. You can see again where there are capitals and where there are not. Use of parentheses and then brackets for the actual university where the doctoral dissertation was submitted. All important information for those citations. A few words and examples again on digital object identifiers. So here's the correct APA7 format, but you do see other formats like this one, but it's just not APA7. This would be the correct format for the APA7 compliant reference to that particular article. You might see something like this with the DX or the no S there after HTTP. This is the APA7 format for that article. If you see something by JSTOR where you have a public company that contains and stores references, we don't include those in our APA7 reference lists. And a final point, if you see something like this in a DOI, this is the address of a particular university library. This happens to be mine, Fielding Graduate University Library. But unless you are a student or alum or staff member of this library, you can't access this article by using this address. Instead, you'd have to use this one. So make sure that you are going to someplace like Google Scholar or Zotero Bib to make sure that your citation is accessible by anyone. So I hope this has been helpful. If you need help making your citations APA7 compliant, please get in touch with me. I'd love to help you.